Very quickly, my introduction: management consultant, BCG, co-founder at Global Governance Initiative. I've also done my MBA from ISB. That is where all of these learnings, I would say 90% of these learnings are getting derived from. I also did my exchange semester at Howard Business School, Boston, as well as Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. So the problem statement basically is, and the way I want to actually run all these MBA with Shatakshi lessons would be, we will have a problem statement and then we will plug and play an MBA concept there, because I don't want to make it a theoretical or a non-application based video lessons. I want to make it more practical, a very application based video lessons. So the problem statement is, if you have your profits have been declining, what is the first step you take in your organization or in your department? And truth be told, in my pre-MBA, when I was working at Groupon India, which is now called Nearby, I was responsible to look at the profits of a particular department. And truth be told, I am no CA, I am no BCom undergraduate who had comfort with the income statements. And in fact, on my first job, even before Groupon India and Nearby, when I was a boutique management consultant and we were trying to solve for cost of an organization, I was asked by the managing director, Shatakshi, open the income statements for publicly traded organization. I think in some shape or format, I was kind of intimidated. Why am I narrating this tale to you? Is because I understand many engineers, many science graduates, arts graduate, basically non-BCom and non-CAs will get intimidated if they are asked, or if they don't even know that they have to open the income statements for that matter. So what is the first step you do when profits decline, right? I kind of assume that you understand the fact that profits is equal to revenue minus cost. Revenue is basically the income you earn, and cost is basically the expenses you make to earn that income, right? If profits are declining, either your revenue is declining, or basically your costs are going up. Either of them can happen, point number one, or actually both can also happen, point number two. If you are in the second scenario, then it's actually a very tricky situation, because you might have to solve for both. I'll just quickly share my screen to ensure that I teach you also how an income statement look like. It's an extremely simplified version of what I'm showing right now, right? So this is a retailer, a shop's income statement. So you see two headings, right? One is revenue and second is expenses. That is all what you care about. Everything else is a subset. We'll come to it, but from the process of oversimplifying, or from the process of making sure that you're not intimidated by these income statements, you need to find these two headings only. Revenues. So for example, you see the total revenue is $27,800. and you see the total expenses as $14,850, right? These are the two main headings that you care about. Now, what do you do after you have found these two line items? The next two things that you will do will be step number 2. You find historical income statements for your department or for at an organizational level. What is the scope of whatever is the scope of the problem? Then you will start mapping the historical patterns. You will start mapping year on year, month or quarter on quarter, the revenue patterns. If the revenue has been declining, or probably the revenue has been going or is stagnant. If that is the case, then you start looking at costs also, right? You will see if the cost has been going up, cost is a straight line graph or a declining curve. So that is the second step that you do. What is the third step you do? Let's say hypothetically you're solving for a publicly traded organization, let's say hypothetically RIL, Reliance, and you figure out you're also you're trying to solve for this problem. You actually open closest competitors, which are also publicly traded, their income statements. You will find all of these in the annual statements. They're all publicly open documents. So that is when you will start figuring out, let's say hypothetically figure out that our internal Reliance revenues have been going down or the costs have been going up. Then that is insight number 1, right? I will not even call this an insight, I will call this an observation, number 1. Then you will start finding out observation number 2, which is what is the industry pattern. Is it that only Reliance Retail revenue is going down, or is it, let's say, because of corona entire industry revenue is going down, right, and entire industry's costs are going up? That will be your observation number 2. After you figure that out, right, that is your step number 2, right? A, solve for historical patterns, and B, solve for competitor benchmarking. Then you go for step number 3. Let's say in the observation you figured out that the competitor's revenue has been going up, but your revenue has been going down. In some shape or format, the competitor is probably eating in your revenue share, right? That can be one of the scenario. But revenue is still a very big bucket, right? In conglomerates, huge conglomerates like Tata, Birla, and even in startups, there are multiple categories. So now you need to deep dive. So you will figure out revenue by division, right? Whatever product portfolio, whatever service offerings that the client or your organization is giving, you will find subset data for it, right? Data for the subset. Or the other small line items that I was trying to show you. Let me go back to the screen. So you see merchandise sales, music lesson, income. So there are 2 line items that you see here. Your answer can be in either of these 2. So that is how you basically find where the problem statement is sitting in. The problem that you started with was really macro, that the profits of the department or the organization are going down, but you really narrowed the funnel. And that is how, as management consultants, we solve problem day in and day out. And trust me, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I have oversimplified the process to ensure that you're not intimidated. Just always look at broad headings of revenue and expenses. Once, let's say, if I were to also take a further step ahead and teach you, let's say you figure out that revenue of X division within RIL contributes to 80% of the revenue and they have been declining. Then you conduct a 5Y analysis. Right? This is what we say in consulting, a 5Y analysis. You ask answer 5 times. Let's say I go to the client and say, why is the revenue declining? Then the client can say, or somebody in the department can say, that the volume has been declining but price is stagnant. What is revenue? Price into volume. So they say price is stagnant, volume is declining. That is the answer to your first why. Then you further question 4 times why more, or even further. Why is the volume declining, so on and so forth, and you conduct a proper due diligence or a diagnosis on this entire piece.